Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger. Up next, how close are the Baltimore Ravens really to winning a championship? Let's talk. Ravens Nation has hung on the phrase, as long as we have Lamar Jackson, we have a chance. It's a phrase that I agree with, but it's one that I cringe at when I hear it. Because that means that the basis of our championship hopes hangs literally on one player with that statement. But you could play that statement in many different variations, right? I'm sure Buffalo fans believe that as long as we have Josh Allen, we have a chance. I'm sure Cincinnati Bengals fans could say, or would say, as long as we have Joe Burrow, we have a chance. I'm sure that a team like the Philadelphia Eagles might be saying right now, as long as we have Jalen Hurts, we have a chance. Maybe the Detroit Lions believe that Jared Goff gives them a chance. Maybe the Washington Commanders are saying, as long as we have Jalen Daniels, we have a chance. Either way, that phrase for us in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson have a chance, is cringeworthy. Because I believe that Lamar Jackson has covered a myriad of holes and weaknesses and vulnerabilities for the Baltimore Ravens. Whether it's been overcompensating for a lack of depth at wide receiver, whether it has been covering a mediocre at best offensive line, whether it's making up for in 2024-25 season for a less than stellar defense, whatever it was. That phrase, as long as we have Lamar Jackson, we have a chance, is one to be concerned about. So the question is, how close are we? We do have Lamar, so yes, we do have a chance, but how close are we really to a championship? When you scour the AFC competition, right, with Buffalo having a really inconsistent and less competitive division, they're always going to be around at the top of the AFC. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, who have owned the AFC West, and there's no reason to think that they won't go into the future, they're always going to be around the top. When you look at the AFC North, we have ruled the AFC North for the last couple of seasons and pretty consistently over the last 7 seasons. But we do have some competition in the division, with the Bengals having a Pro Bowl level quarterback in Joe Burrow themselves. And then when you look out at the AFC South, the Houston Texans are still going to be at the top. And who can add pieces this offseason that are going to make a substantial difference? I think it's going to answer this question ultimately. See, because all of the franchises that I named have a franchise quarterback. All of the franchises that I named, I'm sure, have championship ambition. But at this point, it's sort of an arms race, right? Who can build the better of the offensive lines? Who can build the better of the defensive line? Who is going to have the better pass rush? Who's going to be solid in the secondary? Who is going to make plays at wide receiver? So on and so forth. It's literally going to be an arms race. And so when I take a step back and I look at the Ravens as it compares to other competitors for a championship, I just have to wonder, right? Will we do what's necessary to really push us over the top? Will the Baltimore Ravens build an offensive line that will be better than what we saw last year? Will we come into 2025-26 with more discipline, right? Stepping away from that most penalized team in the NFL? Will we be a defense in 2025-26 that doesn't have the worst secondary play of all the NFL teams for the first 10 to 11 weeks and still finished at the bottom, I think, at the end of the season? How close are we? I think that if this is a race for supremacy, I think it's really a 4-horse race. I think it's still the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Texans, all division winners from last year. That doesn't mean the Bengals can't make a push. That doesn't mean the Chargers won't step up. That doesn't mean that Denver won't make some upgrades on their team and take another step in the next season. But I think that all of those teams that I named, those 4 division winners from last year, they have the quarterback position figured out, plus the Bengals, of course. When I look at the offensive lines that are returning, the Buffalo Bills have the advantage there for sure. When I look at the wide receiver group, I think the Bengals have the advantage there. Maybe the Texans could step into that wide receiver advantage, having Nico Collins and maybe Tank Dell comes back healthy. I'm not 100% sure what that looks like. When it comes to the running backs, the Baltimore Ravens have the advantage. When it comes to tight ends, the Baltimore Ravens have the advantage. When it comes to defense, I think that still leans in the direction of the Texans and the Chiefs. So many teams have advantages that the Ravens don't have, and then the Ravens have advantages that those other teams don't have. And so if I'm honest, I think that we are closer than we are further away. But I think that if you are, thinking about it like a sprint, rounding that last turn, I think everybody evens out, right? Because of the advantages each team has. I think the Baltimore Ravens and their advantages may cause them to nudge ahead of some of the other top-end competitors. I think right now, if I had to say where we were in closeness just in the AFC to a championship, I'm going to still go with the Chiefs. I'm going to go with the Bills. I'm going to go Ravens, and I'm going to go Texans. Just based on how just based on how the conference ended up last season. I think that some things that bring more balance to the top end competition is that the Chiefs had a devastating loss, and I think it's going to cause them to kind of have a wholesale change in some areas along that offensive line. I think you're going to see some changes at wide receiver for the Chiefs. I think you're going to see some changes in the backfield for the Chiefs. So you're going to see a lot of changes. Even the thought that maybe Travis Kelce walks away at the end of this season. So I think you're going to see the Chiefs look a lot different. And I don't necessarily know what different looks like for them, but I think that the Ravens being able to come back with mostly their team intact, I think that gives us an advantage. I think you're going to see the Bills have some change at wide receiver once again. I don't think they return Amari Cooper, and I don't think they go out and get a big name guy. So I think they're going to rely upon the draft and maybe some supplemental signings in free agency. But I think with most of our starters returning and the dominance we enacted offensively at times last year, I think that gives us an advantage. So I think it pulls us closer to the top with the Chiefs and the Bills, but we're going to have to wait and see what we actually do in free agency. I think the Houston Texans have the potential to have the biggest leap because they're doing exactly what you're supposed to do when you have a franchise quarterback on his rookie deal. They've consistently tried to build around CJ Stroud. I absolutely see the Houston Texans going out and making a big move this offseason, specifically at the wide receiver position. In fact, I hate to announce this, Baltimore Ravens fan base, but the Texans may be the leading candidate to get Deebo Samuel. I know Adam Schefter mentioned the Ravens as one of the teams, and then I saw all the content creators say, Deebo Samuels has been linked to the Ravens. That wasn't a real link. That was just Adam Schefter naming a whole host of teams. You may see Deebo Samuel ending up in Houston rather than Baltimore just because of the DeMeco Ryans ties to the San Francisco 49ers. But I do expect Houston to make a big move building around their young quarterback, which I think will give them a greater push to the top. So I think the competition in the AFC will be exponentially greater. I think that we have the hardest schedule of all the AFC top end competition. And so I think that we are close, but I don't think right now we are in position to be any kind of leading candidate. I saw the favorites, which was the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Ravens for the Super Bowl next year. But we have to wait and see if the Ravens will actually do the work in the areas where we're weak to push us over the top. So what do you guys think, man? Do you guys think we're close? And if we're close, what do we need to get us over the hump? I don't think that we're one player away. In fact, I don't think any team is one player away. I don't think if we got a top end pass rusher that settles it. I don't think that if we got a better left guard, right guard combo, I don't think that settles it for us. I don't think that if we got a top end cornerback who could lock down one side of the field, I don't think that settles it. I think that, we have been left vulnerable for years at those positions, at cornerback, opposite Marlon Humphrey, at edge rush, and along that offensive line, and then of course at wide receiver. And those are what I believe to be our greatest positions of need. So I think if we address those positions, not with bargain basement shopping, I think there will be some bargain basement shopping, which is fine, but I think that we need some top end talent. It doesn't have to be top 10 free agent status. It could be in that 20 to 30 range, just as long as we get some quality talent at certain positions that we are vulnerable. This is just a random conversation I had on top of my mind. Just wondering how close are we really and what we need to do to get over the hump. You guys jump into the comment section, man, and let me know what you guys think. How close are we? Scale of 1 to 10. 1, we're not that close. 5, of course, is halfway. And 10, we are right there. Of course, I don't think we're at 10. If I'm saying we're close, I'm saying we're about a 6.5. But I think our vulnerable areas are so vulnerable that it would take those needs being addressed to really push us up to that 8, 9, 9.5 mark. So let me know where you guys think we are and what we need to do free agency and draft to strengthen weak areas. I'm Miguel Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.